Welcome to Mind Money Balance. I'm your host, Lindsay Bryan-Podvin. I'm a woman of color, popcorn connoisseur, and one of the first financial therapists in the United States. This is the weekly podcast all about making money feel good in your relationship. The no guilt, no shame podcast, so you can stand in your power as a couple. Let's go. All right, today for our power session, we have Emma and Spencer here. Emma and Spencer, why don't you guys introduce us? Tell us a little bit about where you guys are located and how long you've been together.
So my name is Emma Hicks.
I'm Spencer Hicks.
And we reside on a farm outside of the Quad Cities here in Iowa. We have 3 children, ages 3, 6, and 9. We've been together for over 10 years since senior year of high school. We've known each other for our entire life and feel just like kindred spirits. There's a lot to go back there on, but we have decided to close the chapter of having more children. So in these last couple of years, we've really been focusing on our marriage and strengthening our communication skills. And recently, Spencer has dove into entrepreneurship. So we are both entrepreneurs as of October of 2019.
Awesome. And Spencer, why don't you tell me a little bit about what you guys do for your entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you what Emma does, but most people ask me that, and I honestly don't have a great answer for her, so I won't talk over her by any means. Myself, though, I've kind of been in the business world the last 8 years, I guess it is. It's always kind of been in the agricultural field. I was born and raised on a farm. Just kind of always been my way of life and my sweet spot. The last 5 years, I sold farm equipment for a John Deere dealership, and I realized I wanted more. I was basically killing myself working so much. We'd go on, it was 100% commission. I'd hide in the bathroom and make phone calls when we're on vacation, and it just wasn't a sustainable lifestyle for Emma and I. And I was looking for more. So actually 2019 was kind of a weird year for me. I bounced around to a couple different companies trying to find home again before I realized that I was kind of tired of working for other people. So I started a seed company. I'm an independent contractor through Channel and Bayer. And by the way, all opinions are my own today. So I opened a seed company. So now it's kind of a different transition. I used to just be a sales guy and I had support staff. Now I'm the maintenance man and the delivery guy and the salesperson and the accountant, and I'm wearing a lot of different hats now. And Emma and I have talked about this before, about how to stay in your sweet spot. And mine is definitely the selling and the relationships and the people part of it. So there could be a day where, maybe I have the possibility to hire out some of the other jobs I don't like to do so much. But here in the beginning stages, I'm wearing all hats. And I'll let Emma tell you what she does because I can't tell you very well.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a community builder and host of intimate gatherings, retreats, meetups, and an annual camp for Camp Climb. We host that annual camp here in Iowa, and then intimate intensives throughout the Midwest, national, and beyond, bringing together women in entrepreneurship who are impact-driven.
Wow, awesome, you guys. So you guys are both entrepreneurs coming at it from different angles. So the common theme I heard between both of you is that you're people persons. You both really value relationships and community and connection. And I wonder, how that kind of shows up in your relationship. I would love to know about what you guys have done in terms of your money work, whether that's money mindset work, whether that's black and white stuff like budgeting. Tell me a little bit about what that looks like in your relationship.
Yeah, Emma and I don't really talk about money. We've never needed to. We've been together from the beginning of adulthood when we had nothing, so we've always just had common goals in mind. We bought and remodeled this house kind of on a whim, and Emma and I never really talked about it. She did all the design work. I did all the actual work. Not actual work. I don't mean to belittle you, but the physical part of it, I don't know, we maybe had a handful of conversations throughout the entire house project. I've always kind of been a black and white guy. I was basically raised by my grandpa, who was a farmer through the Great Depression. So you can imagine a very conservative mindset. And that's kind of the way I've always been. And being in the agricultural field is always stereotypically a pretty conservative field. I've always been a black and white guy. I drink gas station coffee and Emma drinks Starbucks coffee. And I don't see the value in more expensive. If I can get the same thing for $1, I don't see the value in the the logo on the cup, I guess I'll say. So I'm a very black and white finance person.
Yeah, I'm really strong-willed and independent. And so right out of high school, I've always been very subconsciously intuitive. It wasn't until a few years back that I really started to be so consciously aware of my intuition. And so I've let my intuition guide me forever and up to this point. But I don't know if Spencer really, I think when a woman stands in her truth, the guy is if he can tell that she's standing in her truth. So going back to the first house that we bought, I looked at it that night and I said, I'm going to buy this house and flip it. And Spencer hadn't even looked through it.
I made $9 an hour at this time.
Yeah.
Maybe $8.
But I think that I was so confident and sure of it. And it was a great investment for us that he didn't second guess my financial decision there. Mm-hmm. And I think I've just built and instilled this trust in Spencer that he does trust me for my risky endeavors.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't always been that way. Yeah, I mean, I remember I was working a Saturday and she calls me up and we don't have any money. And she says, hey, I bought this house. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, sure, we'll make it work, whatever it is. And it's a trust that she had to build with me, and I've had to do the same with her. I just recently made a couple big decisions in my business and kind of ran them past her, but I already had my mind made up that I was going to do it, and she was okay with it. And we both just have a trust that's been built that we know we're not making foolish decisions or rash decisions. These are things that we've been thinking about and desiring for quite a while. And we still question each other, not in a pessimistic way, or maybe mine is sometimes, I guess, but it's more of a questioning, just being sure that you are strong in your convictions, or that or that you're strong in the faith that it's going to work and that type of thing. Yeah, and it's just, so now we don't really need to have, we never really had conversations, now we really don't need to have conversations.
I think we're having more conversations now, because I think it's getting more riskier, and we've definitely failed along the way. So we just get back up on our feet and we make sure that we fail quick and then get back on the horse. So $10,000 in credit card debt after getting married and having that wedding, generate that. And how are we going to get out of this? And we were very creative, and we went to a wholesale market. I was in the picking vintage antique world and got a hold of stacks of these hatchery baskets.
1,000.
And sold, what did we make? $20,000 on that. And that was for one specific goal. That was to get out of credit card debt.
And that was one of those 0% for 12 months. It was 11 months and 28 days. Credit card bill was due on Monday. We did this a crazy whirlwind Friday, Saturday, made enough to pay off the credit cards. Yeah, it's kind of a cool story for another day.
It is. And I mean, as I listen to you guys are incredible outliers in the world of marriage and couples and money, because a lot of the couples that I see who don't talk about money, it is an issue. So the fact that you guys have been able to, and I would challenge that you guys don't communicate about it, because it does sound like you communicate about it. It's not like you are not engaging the other person in the communication, but you guys have such a strong trust that it's I'm making this big decision for us as a family, and here's what we're going to be doing, or here's what we need to do. But in these examples, both of you guys end up jumping on the same page to make things work. So tell me a little bit, you guys mentioned that things are a little bit different now that Spencer's 100% in entrepreneurship. Tell me what kind of money stuff might be coming up now that is maybe not even getting you guys at a crossroads, but that you're looking to prevent from becoming an issue or a sticking point.
I think capital investments are becoming a big thing. With my business, there's a lot of startup money and yearly capital, from infrastructure to buildings to transportation, everything like that. And Emma, at the same time, is building her business, and she requires a lot of upfront money. And that's maybe we're kind of like a bank. We don't need to talk about things below a certain threshold, but we get over a certain threshold and we need to have a conversation. And it seems like a lot of the conversations with hers is you got to prepay for a lot of the stuff that she does, event centers and retreats and things like that. So it's, hey, this is what I need for the next 60 days until I get revenue. Are you comfortable with this? And maybe Emma can explain that a little bit better.
Yeah. And just 1 year, 3 year, 5 year projections. This is the 4th brand that I have built out, and I'm definitely building a brand that's bigger than myself. And I've always believed that since the start of creating it, and that it's going to become a really big movement. So I can make more risk in this community in this organization because I see the longevity of it.
Mm-hmm.
And these are risks that I've never taken before in any other business. So I think I'm just experiencing growing pains and looking for more trust in myself that I am going to make the right decisions. Because up to this point, I have been very intuitive and very on point with my intuition in finances. And it's gotten me here. But now there's like this voice in my head that's saying, like, you have to get the logical side and you have to get you need monthly reports being generated for your company. You need
to run it like a business and not just
like
run
really like a CEO. Like eventually we'll have a CFO in here. So that is all new stuff for me. So I'm just like kind of rehearsing in my head to myself, what if you quit learning? What does the possibility look like if you quit learning? Because it's challenging for me and that sounds terrible. And I don't want to answer, I'm not done learning. I just have to continue to push through these growing pains. So I guess with Spencer being an entrepreneur at the same time of me just feeling really scared of the unknown with the Camp Climb organization because it's all new territory for me. I don't know. I guess there is more scarcity coming out in me than I've probably ever had before. But I'm so trusting. I feel like, I don't know, like last night I went to bed and I was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Like, I really want to see clearly these projected budgets and these sheets getting printed out monthly. But then I woke up this morning and it was just a whole brand new attitude. Went and did yoga and then went to the coffee shop and was just pumping out and sitting in my zone of genius and just doing what I know best and knowing that I'm working towards being able to hire and fill a position that can do that. So yeah, I don't know. Just a lot of growing pains.
And I think with any business, if it was easy and there weren't these stressful moments and these growing pains, everybody would work for themselves and everybody would own a successful business, So we might have a few sleepless nights, but I don't know. And that's where we're always in it together. Like, we know if you work hard and you put all your effort into it, you can't fail. And that's kind of how I look at it.
Even if you do have a hiccup or a mistake happen, you guys are committed to not letting that failure define you. You're committed to finding a solution, finding a way to maybe make a creative solution or a pivot or something like that.
Yeah. And I don't think neither one of us have ever dwelled on failures. We don't even really recognize them or think about them, I guess. If you were to ask us both, what have been some failures along the way, maybe Emma could answer, but I really don't. And Emma would argue that we probably should sit into it and recognize it and realize it and move past it. But I just don't even really recognize it. It's move on. That didn't work. So I guess all I really see is the successes.
Well, one thing that I have heard kind of a theme of as you guys have been speaking is the fancy therapy term for it is cognitive dissonance. There's a distance between what you're saying and what you guys are behaving in. By that, I mean, I heard Spencer say a lot of things like, oh, I'm pessimistic, I'm really conservative, I'm really this and that. And I heard Emma say things like, I've got fear of abundance, there's a lot of growing pains, there's a lot of scarcity. And I heard a lot of those scared, small thoughts, but the actions that you guys are taking and the way that you're interacting with each other are not the same. They are very much in the world of abundance and trust and faith in one another. So I'm curious why you guys are holding on to those negative statements, and when I listen to you, you guys aren't behaving in the way that those negative statements might have you thinking.
And I think these are all conversations that Emma and I have internally in our own heads. And by the time they come out to each other, we've already overcome those obstacles. In my head, I'm extremely conservative and I'm extremely withheld and all those things we just talked about. But by the time I talk to Emma, I've already overcame that in my head. So when I talk to her, I'm already through it.
I think like just the timing of our interview is pretty divine because honestly, like this is the week. These are like the 5 days that you're going to catch me scared shitless, and this is going to be such a mere memory. So I think it's going to be really cool to look back on and be able to acknowledge those fears I am having. I think sometimes I can be really unrelatable to people. I'm like, how can you like take all these risks? And like Spencer said, I don't really remember them looking back. So I think it'll be really good to look back and remember this. But for me right now, it is like I am sitting in just some really deep growing pains and about to hit a peak of something and really put myself out there. And so by next month, it'll all have changed and be different. I think too, though, with what you're saying, is this is something that Spencer and I are both starting to observe and accept in ourselves, is that we're never enough and anything we do is never enough. So I wonder if like these voices that we're saying to ourselves in our head, like we downplay things, or I don't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as I listen to you guys, what I find really interesting. So the way that our brains work is they have operated for years to keep us safe. So Spencer, going back to your grandfather growing up in the Great Depression and absorbing a lot of messaging around safety then meant making really smart financial moves, not doing things that were too risky, making sure you have food and cash easily available, because that was a way to stay safe. And he passed that on to you. Make sure you can always flip a tractor within 1 month and make that profit really quickly, because the risk of waiting 6 months to flip that profit is greater. Even if the profit might be greater than 1 in the hand is better than 2 in the bush kind of a thing. So these types of thoughts have worked to keep you safe, except that as I'm listening to you, they're no longer serving you. So I wonder what would happen if you guys challenge some of these thoughts instead of, oh, we've worked through them. I'm hearing them again and again and again come up. So what might happen if you guys had the opportunity to really stand in your intuition and your trust with one another? And when you say, hey, I'm having these thoughts that I am like a really pessimistic person, having the other person say, yeah, that's an old thought that used to maybe keep you safe when you were younger, when you were growing up. But look at us now. We've got 3 kids. We've got this beautiful acreage. We each have our own careers. You're actually not a pessimist. You're actually quite optimistic, and you're teaching our children how to take these big, beautiful risks. So what might happen if you guys challenged those negative thoughts, or even just acknowledged them aloud and said, hey, this is really weird, but like I'm having these cobweb thoughts kind of come up that I'm not okay with extra money, or I'm not okay with abundance. I just needed to say it out loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that could be really powerful.
Yeah. What's coming up for you guys as I kind of rambled on?
Well, and I was just thinking even like another money block I've always had is, so say it's capital investments, or we just kind of did more cattle than we've ever done before. And I'm writing all these checks all the time. And I told them the other day, I always feel like I'm just bleeding. I'm always writing checks. I get paid 4 times a year. And for 18 hours, I feel wealthy. And then for the next 3 months, I feel like I'm just continuously bleeding. One realization I had, I'm okay. I'm functioning okay. But every time I write a check, I'm just like, oh God, I'm poor. And then one realization I just kind of had with, so I just fixed up a building here on our property, and we just spent a bunch of money on some cows, and we're going to have monthly bills on those cows until we sell them. And one realization I just kind of had was that that money's not gone. I'm parking it in different places. The cows I will get back someday. The only way I ever get my money back out of our building is if I sell this property. But at the same time, I'm still parking that money there. And that's helped me a little bit with my maybe money anxiety or my fearful mindset, is that I could liquidate that if I wanted to. And that's kind of, as I've started my business, I've made really good deals on the stuff that I needed. And that's kind of my mindset, is to buy something in a position where I could liquidate it, get my money back out of it, and be in a better position than when I started quickly. And that just kind of goes back. So I do revert to my safety still, in some instances. That's like a purchase for myself. Emma doesn't benefit from me buying a truck or a trailer or a skid loader or anything like that.
I wonder if I could offer a little bridge from I'm bleeding money, I'm poor, to the money isn't gone, I'm parking it somewhere else. Would you be open to hearing a different thought? Yeah. So as you're talking, I'm just remembering how much you guys both spoke about community and relationships at the beginning. And I'm wondering, Spencer, what it might do for you if you tapped into that and said something in your words that felt good to you along the lines when you were writing these checks of, I am putting more money back into the community that I love, or I am giving money in exchange for XYZ. tying it to a value and for you guys having that relationship be a strong value for you can be helpful instead of being so black and white, because black and white can be helpful with money, to be sure. And it's mostly psychological and emotional. So that's why you're going to hear me like redirect you guys as we have this conversation. So how does that land with you?
Yeah, no, and I think you kind of nailed it there as well. The contractors I used were local people. I used the small town local lumber yard. My vet is from a town, he's the neighboring town with 100 people in it. So I do try my best to keep my money in our communities, and even the cattle I bought are from my neighbors, so I put money directly into their pockets. So no, I think just make that connection that my money is in my community at least. I can't help what they do with it once it's in their hands, but hopefully they keep it local as well. But no, I think that is a good way of looking at it, is that at least it's still in our circle.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad that resonated with you. Cool.
Yeah.
Great. So you told me this is the 4th brand you've built, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. And how many of those other 3 brands were you irresponsible with when you had income coming in from them?
I just continuously poured it back into the brand.
Okay.
But were you irresponsible with the money in any way?
No, you never bought a new vehicle, or you took us on vacation once, and then it about broke you for like the next 6 months. Just tried to do something nice.
Yeah. The way I would say that I felt like I was being irresponsible would be like, I wish I would have been like, okay, Emma, 30% of this you get to take home. Like, I've never really like given myself paychecks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Nobody can see your face because we're on audio, but your face was like, don't tell anyone that this is what's happened. Because if anybody listens to anything entrepreneurship related, you're going to hear pay yourself, pay yourself, pay yourself. Otherwise, it's not a business. Okay. So that's actually really helpful. So I heard a couple of things. One, I heard, no, you weren't really irresponsible with the money from those brands. And 2, you don't have a system to pay yourself so that when it comes time to take a vacation, it doesn't mean that then you're scrambling to replace that income. So what would happen if, as you build out this particular brand and as you build out Climb, what might happen if you acted as your own CFO and acted in the way of, okay, 30% of this is my paycheck. Mm-hmm. How do you think that might work for you?
Yeah, it feels really good. Yeah.
Okay. And what might be preventing you from doing it?
I think it's the inconsistency of the money coming in. It's just like here and there. It's not this monthly paycheck or income.
Yeah.
So then I don't track it, and then it all goes into the checking and pays the bills. And,
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't know if I don't think I'm valuing the money and the dollar enough.
Mm-hmm. How come? Why don't you think you're valuing it enough?
Like when writing checks and stuff, there's not like an emotional connection there. And maybe like, I don't know. I think I should be more proud.
Okay. Say more about that.
Yeah. Like with the money, because it always is going back in and improving the lives of other people and helping them to take up more space and building more courage and pride and confidence inside of them, that's like super rewarding. And without the money part of it, none of it could happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for you to earn money from providing that to other female entrepreneurs, that's a beautiful way to earn a living.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's think about what it would take for you to feel really proud of paying yourself 30% of that income.
Yeah. I feel like it would just empower me even more to help empower my community even more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I love that. Okay, so just to recap, so Spencer, you're going to work on when you're cutting checks to other folks, reminding yourself that it's staying in the community and you're giving back and you're keeping other people employed, etc., whatever feels good for you that aligns with that value of relationship and connectedness. And then for you, Emma, checking back in with what I'm hearing is your why behind your business is also a beautiful why to pay yourself and pay yourself 30% of what comes in as you build out this brand.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Great.
The thing is, when we say cut checks, we literally mean cutting physical checks. We're very old-fashioned in the way of how we pay bills. I don't trust that online bill pay and all that. I call and order checks at the bank, and they, Spencer, why do you go through so many checks? because we cut a check for everything.
Yeah. Well, you're actually quite smart to do that, Spencer, because again, our poor brains haven't caught up to technology. So we do better with checks and physical money in terms of being more mindful about our spending. So actually good for you.
Well, it's a pain in the butt to write out a check. So you have to write it out for $4 or something like that,
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you guys so much for coming on. And I can't wait to hear how everything goes as you guys continue in your businesses.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Well, what did you think of that episode with Emma and Spencer? I think it was a great illustration of how we can really start working on changing our negative thoughts. In their case, they were doing a lot of amazing things and they had a really healthy relationship when it came to their money. They just had to start working on tweaking some of the negative thoughts that they had running through their head. So if you enjoyed this power session and you are interested in working with me, you should really consider joining me in Boundless. Boundless is my 6-month group coaching program for high-earning couples. And in addition to monthly educational modules, each couple who joins Boundless gets 2 45-minute sessions with me. And they are kind of like today's power session with Emma and Spencer, except that we have a little bit more time together. We get 45 minutes together and we get to do that twice. And each couple gets to decide when they want to book those. So while I recommend that each couple does them at the beginning and end of the 6-month group coaching program, you can kind of schedule them when you want. So if you're interested in working with me in that capacity, head to my website, www.mindmoneybalance.com/boundless, and you can go ahead and get some additional information there about how to apply for the program. It's application-based so that each couple who joins is really there to do the work and to cheer on other couples that are in that group. So again, that website is www.mindmoneybalance.com/boundless, and you can get all the information there about how to apply. I'm going to be starting a new cohort very soon in May of 2020, so make sure to get in your application soon so you can hopefully join me there. If you love this episode, take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram @MindMoneyBalance with your favorite takeaway. I love seeing what resonates with my listeners and sharing it in my stories. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week right here. Neither the host or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, medical, or other professional information. If you want professional help, please seek it out.